Thompson was last seen leaving her Waldo Street home around 12:30 a.m. She met Joseph N. Marshall Jr. and Sean M. McDonough at the Perkins restaurant to play cards with them. Laura was known to be friends with older adults. At the time, she was a high school student and was the mother of a 9-month-old son and did not take any of her things with her. Her mother reported her missing within 48 hours of her disappearance. Investigators initially assumed that Laura had run away from home. Her case was classified as such by law enforcement for 17 years after she went missing. Her mother hoped that Laura might have left to build herself a better life. She has never run away before and never showed an interest in doing so. At the time of Laura's disappearance, she was known to live a life of frivolity. She gave birth to a son, baby, when she was 14 years old. He was 9 months old when his mother went missing. He was put in foster care after Laura's disappearance because her mother became too sick and distraught over her daughter's disappearance to care for him. In July of 2010, the truth about what happened to Laura was revealed when a woman, Shannon Marshall, went to the Newcastle police and implicated her soon-to-be ex-husband and another man, Joseph N. Marshall Jr. and his friend Sean M. McDonough, in Laura's slaying. Shannon told police that her husband, Joseph Marshall, confessed that he killed someone in January of 1993. Shannon didn't come to the authorities with her information until 2010 because she was afraid for her life. He told her before they married and even offered to end their plans of marriage if she was too bothered by what he told her. He initially didn't reveal the victim's name, but then told her it was a girl named Laura. She stated she was always burdened by her husband's confession. She was prompted to find out more about his alleged victim and his involvement in the case since they were getting a divorce in 2010. She searched on the website of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and found Laura's missing persons report. She then went to the police and told them that her husband and his friend Sean McDonough were responsible for her death. The two were arrested and charged with killing Laura in the September of 2010. They were the two friends that Laura was going to meet the night of her disappearance. Marshall talked into a recording device that Shannon wore in order to gather incriminating evidence against her husband. In the recording, he described how he, Sean, and Laura went to Sean's mother's trailer and drank beer in Shenango Township, Pennsylvania. Then they walked to a nearby cabin in the woods. He then stated that Sean began to behave erratically and talked in a satanic voice. Sean proceeded to stab Laura repeatedly until she stopped moving. He then stripped Laura's body of her clothing and had sex with her. Afterwards, he went back to the trailer to get a shovel. The two men then buried her near his trailer, U.S. Route 422. Several months later, McDonough returned to the shallow grave, removed her skull, teeth, and hands, and moved them elsewhere. In the summer of 1993, Shannon accompanied Joseph and McDonough. She stayed in the car while they dug up the rest of Laura's body and scattered her remains in a partially wooded field in Hickory Township. They also put some in a ravine near Hickory Township, Pennsylvania, off of U.S. Route 108. In September 2010, the two suspects, Joseph N. Marshall Jr. and his friend Sean M. McDonough, were charged with Laura's murder. Photographs of both of them are posted with the case summary here in the video. Shannon Marshall was never charged in connection to Laura's disappearance. She and Joseph married in 1993, and she gave birth to a son and a daughter. Joseph was charged with criminal homicide, murder, conspiracy, and the abuse of a corpse. McDonough faced the same charges as well as 2 counts of rape. He was living in Theobald, Louisiana at the time of his arrest, and he had never been arrested before. Interestingly, when Sean was arrested in Louisiana for Laura's murder, investigators found a lock of long red hair in his apartment. Laura had red hair when she disappeared. It's unknown if the hair belonged to her. In February 2015, McDonough pleaded guilty to third-degree murder and was sentenced to 8 to 16 years in prison, with credit for time served. He spent more than 4 years in jail waiting the resolution of the case. Later that month, Marshall pleaded guilty to misdemeanor abuse of a corpse. He was sentenced to 1 to 2 years in prison and given credit for 2 years of time served. As a result, was released from custody. All the other charges against him were dropped. The prosecution didn't believe there was enough evidence to convict him of murder. Forensic searches have been unable to recover any trace of Laura's body. Authorities believe that Laura's body may not be recoverable as a farmer dumped a demolition barn and large amounts of earth into the ravine after her body was put there. Foul play is suspected in Laura's case due to the circumstances involved. Her disappearance remains classified as a runaway with many agencies. In the same month, Joseph Marshall was convicted of a misdemeanor abuse of a corpse and was sentenced to 1 to 2 years in prison. He was released from prison after serving his sentence. All the other charges against him were dropped due to lack of evidence. Laura Lynn Thompson, a white female, was born on April the 5th, 1977, and was 15 years of age when she went missing. She is 5 feet 6 inches tall and weighed approximately 140 pounds with red hair and blue eyes. Laura has a light-colored birthmark at her hairline on the back of her neck. If you have any information concerning this case, please contact the Newcastle Police Department at 724-658-4741, or if you wish to remain anonymous, please contact your local Crime Stoppers unit.